Can't get this one.
Hello,
Hey, Jerry.
it's Jerry. Is your microphone on?
What is it?
Let me do something really quick again.
Is your microphone on?
Mom wants me to get that, so just click that and Mom and I have been trying to do this. Just push Alt 2.
Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see me?
I see you, Jerry.
Okay. I was wondering.
I don't know if they do, but I do.
Hey, that's good enough.
Uh,
Where are you calling from?
I'm in my office at home. I couldn't go to the meeting. I had to keep my daughter.
Where are your glasses?
Me?
Don't you have glasses usually?
No, I quit wearing them. I did that cataract surgery and quit wearing them.
Good for you.
Yeah, it seemed to work out pretty good.
Mine work out good for long distance. Reading is still a problem though.
Yeah. I don't know. I put these lenses in where they're kind of, they adjust somehow. I don't know how they do it. Kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. Frankie, using your iPhone?
Hey,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good picture for the iPhone.
Mm. Oh, wonder when they're gonna start this meeting.
They usually start about 12:40,
Oh, okay.
sometimes as late as 12:45.
I haven't done this in a while.
I thought it was pretty good when you were driving up there and you were on the phone.
Yeah, that was pretty.
It's amazing what these Americans can do
When they want to, it's
when they want to, right?
amazing what they can't do.
I won't do.
Yeah, crazy damn world. Sitting here trying to do some stuff on my computer.
You know, next week is our president's night. Are we not meeting the week after?
They got that dinner one night. I don't know. That's next.
Wednesday.
Yeah, be there either. We're headed to the mountains.
Time to cool off. Hey, Ken.
Hey Jerry, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thanks. Thanks.
You look nice and calm and relaxed.
I don't know about that. Must be the camera. It's good. We're out of town, so it's easy to relax sometimes.
Well, that's good.
So you doing good?
Doing all right. Fair.
Good. Okay. You look good. Look good.
I'm gonna try to make it in President's Day next week.
Oh, great. Great.
I don't
We're
know.
still going to be out of town, so I won't make it. So I'll just see
I sent a note to Patty that I'll be there if all works out well. Otherwise, I won't.
you. Okay.
We take it a day at a time.
Yes, I understand. I do.
I've got the Zoom list up on your table.
Say it again.
Said I've got the Zoom list up on your table. And also, I do want to talk today.
Here we go. See you guys later.
Do it, girl, do it.
Welcome, everybody, to the June 14th meeting of the Rotary Club of West Jacksonville. So glad y'all are all here. It's good to see you. I'm glad that several of us got the aqua blue memo today about apparel. So thank y'all for participating. As Joe Everly comes forward to give our invitation, if you would just take a quick second to greet those around you.
Hello, Ed.
Thank you, Joe.
Please bow your heads. Ready? Every day, think as you wake up. Today, I'm fortunate to have woken up. I am alive. I have a precious human life. I am not going to waste it. I am going to use all of my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I am going to have kind thoughts towards others. I am not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. Amen.
Thank you, Joe. And Tom Schneider is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Tom?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Joe. So it is good to see you all today. Thanks for being here. Also want to give a shout out to our Zoomers. I believe we have Allie, Jerry, Frank, Tim, Rahul, and Ken Zooming in with us today. So hey guys, good to see y'all, and ladies, good to see y'all. Thanks for being with us. We only have a couple of pop-ups today. It's your last chance to buy raffle tickets. Larry's back there in the corner. I didn't put him in the corner, but he's in the corner with the raffle tickets. So if you haven't bought your raffle tickets, please see him now. A reminder that next Wednesday, we will not meet at lunch. We'll meet in the evening here at Timuquana, 6 o'clock, for our President's Night event and passing of the gavel. So please plan to be here with us. It's a very special night for us, special for me and for the board I've been working with, and special for President-elect Dane and the board he's going to be working with. So please plan to be here. It's always a nice event, and we'll plan to see you here, but no lunch meeting next Wednesday. Also, as we prepare to close this Rotary year, if you will, just check and be sure that you're all caught up with your account and make sure you paid up everything that you have on your account. If you need information about that, please see Patty, because she, as you know, has all the info. So thanks a lot. Are there any pop-ups, other pop-ups? Joe,
Yes.
Director Joe.
They said if you gave me enough opportunity, I'd mess it up. Well, if you got the email, I messed it up. Oh, yeah, big time. To some of those educational type people who picked up on a few little hints in there, if you don't know what I'm talking about, no, I didn't do anything wrong, but you will be getting another email in the next couple of days that may clarify the last one that you got. That's it. Surprise is waiting.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? I'm gonna go back and reread the notes, see what he messed up. Okay, thank you, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, look for another note from Joe. This week's Family of Rotary, Kathy Cole.
All right, birthdays. Because this is our last lunch meeting, I'm going to go ahead and announce the birthdays that are at the end of the month. We have Donna Halsey, her birthday is June 25th, and Bobby Walton's birthday is June 29th. And President-elect Dane Jensen has some really good news. He and his wife Brittany had a baby boy last Friday night named Bryce, and he was 7 pounds and 13 ounces. And mother and baby are both doing well. So congratulations to President-elect. All right. A burglar breaks into a house. He starts shining his light around looking for valuables. Some nice things catch his eye, and as he reaches for them, he hears, "Jesus is watching you." Startled, the burglar looks for the speaker. Seeing no one, he keeps putting the things in his bag, and again he hears, "Jesus is watching you." This time he sees a parrot. "Who are you?" the burglar asked. "Moses," the bird replied. "Who the heck would name a bird Moses?" the man laughed. "I don't know," Moses answered. "I guess the same kind of people that would name a Rottweiler Jesus." That's the end of my report.
Good one, Kathy, thank you. Anything else for Family of Rotary that Kathy didn't know about? Great, thank you. Raffle drawing, Larry, are you ready? All right, let's do it. Okay, last 4 digits. See, I've got mine sitting right there, so I can't even see them. Last 4 digits, 4913. 4913. Oh, look at the guy.
You got the right shirt.
This is all Joe's fault. So we're trying to get something to win.
To the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got a pretty big mouth, so we're trying to get something to win. Okay, so, right, Joe?
That's it.
And Joe said, you can have a little fun. Okay, so, you see this card, 5 of hearts? Does everybody see that? That is not the winner. 5. So, see this card, the Queen of Clubs?
Whoa, close.
That is not the winner. We don't need that one either. The 6 of spades is not the winner. We don't need that
Your
one.
chances are improving, Corrigan.
There you go. No. He's happy over here. We're 51. So, the King of Diamonds, that is not the winner. Okay, so. That's enough.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. You ready?
I almost feel like I lost already.
No. We're trying to improve your chances. Okay. All right, sir.
Is there a particular card I'm looking for?
Yes, there is.
The winner.
Yeah. That's not it.
Ah. What's the total up to, Larry?
It was 1625 at the beginning, when we started something. I don't know what it is now.
Thank you, Larry.
All
Sorry
right,
about that, Michael.
I tried.
I know. Okay, Sergeant at Arms Carter Rosenblum is going to introduce our guest and visiting Rotarians. Are we having history today? Ooh.
Thank you, President Sean. It'll be our final history today. But before we get to that, we do have one visiting guest today, Josh Harrison. Has brought somebody.
My fellow Rotarians, I have with me today Mr. Brian London. He is the publisher of Destination Marketing, had it memorized today. And don't hold it against me or Brian, but we both serve on Michael Corrigan's board at Visit Jacksonville. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian London.
Brian, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate having you here. So before I start, I'd like to thank Patty Chapman for bringing this idea to my attention. And when I first started as Sergeant at Arms, she said, you know, it'd be really interesting. There's a guy at the Southside Rotary who does an introduction on Paul Harris and gives a little bit of information about him from the autobiography. So thank you for doing that. It's been a lot of fun for me. I've learned a lot about it. I hope you guys have learned some too. Throughout the meetings, some of you have come up and said you really appreciate it, which means a lot to me. So when we left off last week, Paul Harris did not attend the 1945 convention in Chicago. Due to poor health, this would mark the beginning of the end for Paul. Paul was not a wealthy man. When he retired, Social Security had passed during Franklin Roosevelt's administration, but Paul's retirement predated any of his benefits. Paul lived off his savings and wanted to leave money to his wife, Jean, after he was gone. When Paul fell very ill in March of 1946, he stayed at the Harris Hotel in Tuskegee, Alabama, and had his wife take care of him instead of spending money on a nurse in a hospital. Jean was not in good health either, and the strain of caring for Paul was taking a toll on him. When Chess Perry received word of Paul, he immediately came to Alabama to visit him. After witnessing Paul's condition, Chess arranged for Rotary to pay for all of Paul's medical expenses, to nurse him back to health, and get him to a hospital in Chicago. The first thing Chess did was arrange for $500 to be sent to Dr. Richard Cummings, who was a fellow Rotarian, to care for Paul. With Dr. Cummings' help, Paul recovered enough to make the trip back to Chicago. Dr. Cummings only charged $10 for all his services. During this time, Paul's Chicago club nominated him for the Chicago Merit Award. At the time, this was the highest honor to receive by any American organization. Paul was selected and was presented with the award at his club on June 11th, 1946. Although Paul was noticeably frail when he accepted the award, he gave a 15-minute speech about his time at Rotary. This was the last public speaking appearance Paul made. Paul passed away on June 27th, 1947, at the age of 78. Chess Perry had Rotary take care of all the funeral arrangements. When Paul passed, Rotary International consisted of 6,000 clubs in 75 countries with 300,000 members. Many Rotarians wanted to know what they could do to honor Paul Harris. Foreseeing this would happen, Paul requested that no tangible memorial would be provided for him. Rather, the intangible memorial of advancing forth the object of, or advancing the fourth object of Rotary, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional men united in ideals of service. And that is why the foundation has been raising so much money to have Paul Harris Foundation partnerships. That concludes my rhetoric. I'd like to bring up Ed Pratt Daniels to introduce our guest today.
Thank you, Carter. It's my pleasure today to introduce two people to you. If you read your bulletin, you saw the bio for Kevin Hyde, who for most of you needs absolutely no introduction, for not only as an attorney and having been on city council and the city council, and also being on numerous boards, including UNF and the library. But we did not know we were going to have, and Kevin is the chairman of the board of the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. And we did not know we'd also have Rachel Tutwiler, who is the CEO. So we're very fortunate to have both the CEO and the chairman of the board of the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. Rachel has worked for the fund for 10, 12 years and has been the CEO for 5 years. And I'm very excited about both Kevin being in this role and Rachel being in this role. I would describe Jacksonville Public Education Fund as a critical friend of the school district. And I think that the friend is more focused on the critical, but they are outside of the district and able to do some things that perhaps the district can't do on its own in terms of fundraising and some other things. They're here today to share with you what the fund does and to answer your questions. So without further ado, I think Kevin is going to start us off.
Well, good afternoon. Let me say I'm really worried about this speech for this reason, and he sits over there. Michael and I spent 8 years together on city council. We took office the same day. We ran together. And Alberta, you know what it's like to service some people. Michael and I talk a lot about this. When you're in politics, you have a lot of friends. The moment you leave office, you have far fewer. And so we always describe it as you have political friends and you have real friends. Well, Michael is a real friend, as are all members of his family. So whenever Michael and I, we've done this where either I'm speaking or he's speaking. So if there's heckling going on, he's the one doing it. It's fully expected. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. What I want to do real briefly is, excuse me, while I'm the chair, JPEF, the brain is back here. So I'm going to get to her real quickly. But I want to give you an overview of kind of the state of education going on in the state of Florida right now. And then we'll morph into how JPEF fits into this. And we are not here to ask for money, so don't worry about that. But these are very unique times in the state of Florida educationally. You've no doubt read about them. You know, Ed, from your former role, you can see what's going on. And I want to approach it from two perspectives. While we're here talking about public education, which we typically think of as Duval County Public Schools, also want to overlay another role I have, which is with the University of North Florida. I'm the chair of the board there, because these two roles are coming together. The legislature this year passed both for public school systems and for colleges and universities, colleges being your state colleges like FSCJ, universities, obviously, UNF, and our 11 others. What can only be described as the most dramatic change which has occurred in higher education for some period of time. That's anything from now requiring all faculty members to have a 5-year review of their tenure, which has not been done before. Anything from certain funding, which we are not allowed to use anymore. For instance, if you've heard of diversity education programs, we're no longer allowed to fund anything on a university campus that relates to that effective July 1. And I'm not taking a position either one on that. It's just that we have new avenues that we have to think about. Now this year, fortunately, and I saw Travis Cummings as I was walking in, the University of North Florida had a wonderful session where we were able to obtain some monies that we're going to be able to do a lot of really good things with, and largely helping to raise our faculty salaries, which were very low compared to the rest of the system. Now, this is not a university speech. I'm getting to a point here. The thoughts that began there really filtered down into the public school systems. In the legislature, we are fortunate to have Speaker Renner. He doesn't technically represent our area. He is from this area. He is one of us. The speaker historically has the first bill in the session, HB 1. They get to say, This is the highest priority I have, and this is the highest priority that our House is going to have. HB1, put forth by Speaker Renner this year, was the bill which dramatically reforms public education in the state of Florida. And I'm sure you've read many things about it, and this is some of what Rachel will talk about, because from JPEF's perspective, we're really trying to figure out how to navigate this landscape. It does anything, for instance, in terms of the curriculum that can be taught, some of the same DEI thoughts are present in that, to the idea that it is, and I'm not using the official words in the legislation, but that a parent has the right to choose where their child is going to go and have that state money follow them without regard to where that person goes. It no longer has to be a public school as we traditionally think about it. It can be a charter school. It can be a private school. It can be homeschooling. I didn't know that until Rachel told me that a little bit ago. So it is a dramatic change. And if you just read any of the literature going on around education, Florida is now on the top of everybody's list. I'm not saying people necessarily agree with everything, but if you're looking for the changes that are going on, both collegiately and at our public school system, Florida is now in the vanguard of that. So changes are not only coming, changes are here. These laws take effect July 1. They passed overwhelmingly in the legislature, given the majorities that are in the legislature. So this is not going to get changed in the next legislative session. We're trying to navigate that now. So let me get to JPEF, then we'll turn it over to Rachel. What do we try to do? Jacksonville Public Education Fund is a private foundation. We are not part of the school system whatsoever. We are privately funded. We have been very blessed and fortunate with some very strong people in this community who want to support education. We can always do more if we have more, so I'm not saying we don't need it. But the purpose of this is to say, what resources can we provide the public school system? And again, take a very broad definition of what that is now, but at a minimum, it includes charter schools as you know them. There is not a bright line anymore between what we would call the public school, the Lee High School, or the now Riverside High School that Ed was a principal at, and a charter school such as KIPP Academy. They're all part of DCPS now. And we're now thinking about what's the landscape going to be as it goes down further to the funding that's going to follow students wherever they wish to go. What we try to do is a couple of things. Number one is to provide critical data and research, because we have hopefully the benefit of being objective, because we're not part of the school system. So we spend a lot of time in data and research. We typically think about and focus our efforts on underachieving students and underachieving schools. And typically you might call that a Title I school. And what we do is to say we want to close the achievement gap for those students and for those schools to get everybody up to a level par. And Rachel will tell you about something we're very excited about, which is our effort to recruit particularly diverse male teachers. The correlation between student success and teachers of their same identity it's almost a perfect correlation, where young males can be taught by other males and you see a great deal of success there. It's not to say that you can't be effectively taught by a person of a different gender or different race. It's not what I'm saying. We're saying that we typically have an underrepresentation among teachers. So one of the efforts that we have is to go out and try to recruit by 2025, 1,000 new male teachers for our school system. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So Rachel, let me turn it over to you. And then at the end, I wanted to tease to you an idea and get your reaction to something. And of course, we'll leave time for questions.
Thanks, Kevin. And thank you again for the invitation to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. Rotary is a family to JPEF, although this is my first time at this particular club. I'll just briefly mention that kind of our historic relationship with Rotary has been around the recognition and support of educators, which when we think about the most essential things that we can and should do to support high quality education, teachers actually are the school-based factor that has the greatest impact on student achievement. So I want to start by just thanking our local Rotaries for the role that you all have played. If anybody's familiar with the gentleman by the name of John Catman in Deerwood Rotary, it actually was his vision probably 33 or more years ago to grow what is now known as the Eddie Awards. I call it the Oscars of teaching because it really is a red carpet, very special affair into what it is. He walked into an event and it was like a small sort of cookies and punch. And he was like, this is not enough for our teachers. We need to do more. And now if you attend the Eddies, 1,000 people are joined together to let our teachers know how special they are. So I want to just start with a word of thanks. This work is near and dear and very personal to me. I am a native of Jacksonville and did grow up attending Duval County's public schools. And actually, I'm a former teacher as well. I taught at SP Livingston Elementary School back in the day. And that school is near downtown, around the corner from Edward Waters University, which happens to be the neighborhood that my own grandmother grew up in. So when we're talking about both the challenges and opportunities that face public education, you know, I'm thinking from a very personal perspective. When I was teaching second graders and third graders at SP, I felt very much like I was teaching, you know, my own family. And so kind of picking up where Kevin left off, you know, at JPAC, one of the phrases that is used sometimes to describe us, and we kind of coined this phrase a little bit, is think and do tank. And a lot of people kind of readily understand the concept of a think tank as an organization that does produce research, which we're very grateful to have a talented team of researchers and sort of data analysts as a part of our organization. But we don't want to just stop at producing information that then sits on a shelf or that we disseminate to say, like, here are some challenges. We want to roll up our sleeves at JPEP and be a part of the solution. And so that's really how we have leveraged our partnership relationship with schools and the community, is in that work of really identifying where there are opportunities for improvement, as Kevin mentioned, that focused on driving more equitable outcomes, especially, and really leveraging, you know, our voice and our resources as an organization to try to help drive those types of improvements. Some of the things that I will share with you as far as what we're focused on today, we kind of have 3 mission goals as an organization. The first of which is to inform and activate our community. That includes leaders and advocates around the critical issues facing public education. Kevin shared a lot about some of the state level policy changes that are happening. And what we're finding right now is there's just an incredible need to make sure that people, one, understand what's happening, and also given the fact that we are all a part of our, you know, democracy, that we sort of are utilizing whatever expertise, connections that we have to drive the right types of policy changes that truly data supports will move the needle in the right direction for students. So as we sort of look forward to the next chapter of our work, we intend to do even more in that regard. As a part of that work as well, we don't only want to produce the information, but again, we want to bring people together. So JPEP has historically hosted forums to inform, connect people to conversations such as, you know, school board elections, or as we know, we're embarking upon a superintendent search. And as I'm meeting with school board members at present, just reminding our school board of the resource that JPEP has and the ability to sort of be a support in any way we can throughout that process, because ultimately we want to make sure the best decisions are made. So that's a little bit about what's top of mind for us. If you don't know, I'm flagging this in every conversation I'm a part of right now. Next summer, we do have 4 out of 7 school board races on the ballot. And so I think that is of utmost importance. And I really want to make sure that everybody is paying attention to the fact that, you know, those decisions will certainly impact the direction of public education in our community. So just want to call that to everyone's attention as well. The second sort of mission goal that we're focused on is inspiring, motivating, and supporting our already amazing educators. We want to make sure that they remain in the profession, as many as we can keep, especially the high quality ones, and that we're helping them sort of improve their practice along the way. So through our work in that regard, again, recognition of educators is essential. You know, we've heard through our research that educators oftentimes feel that, you know, their voice is not as respected. And with us being an external resource, you know, we look for opportunities to give educators an equal seat at the table with other leaders so that their expertise can be brought to bear on decisions that impact public education. So in addition to the award ceremonies, you know, we're looking for formal opportunities to really elevate educators and their opportunity to influence change in our community and in our public schools. Additionally, we have in the last several years invested considerably in professional learning opportunities, both for teachers and for principals. So we're really, proud. Again, I think the Eddie Awards has laid a perfect sort of foundation for that. It really started with the teacher recognition program. We decided probably back in 2017, when I first moved back to Jacksonville, that we had a remarkable opportunity and that our organization was connected with some of the most incredible educators in our community, those identified by their peers as the best of the best. Why would we just want to bring them together one time for the Eddie Awards? So now throughout the year, we're regularly convening them, creating professional learning opportunities for them to learn from each other's best practices and also from external experts that we bring in. And really guided by some feedback we got from principals who were like, okay, I came to share with them what we were doing for teachers. So like, okay, what are you doing for principals? And what I'll say about the importance of principals is they are the second most impactful sort of school-based factor when it relates to student achievement. And then that is, of course, in part because of the influence they have over teachers and the attracting and retaining of talent for their buildings. So we also want to invest in our principals. The last part of our mission goals that I wanted to share with you is sort of our role as that convener. JCAP is known, and we really appreciate and value that, as a data-driven organization, but we're also known because of our convening strength, bringing people together across with different ideas, with different backgrounds, to really collectively advance the right ideas for public education. And so at present, where we're really focused on that is on two priorities. One is the issue of literacy. Historically, I'm sure many of you probably already know there's a huge opportunity when it comes to improving literacy proficiency for our students. Right now, third grade is sitting at about 47%. And we know that we've seen a little bit of slide with COVID, but historically, if you look back at the last several years, we really haven't surpassed like 51%. And that's just overall. You look at some of the other communities that I mentioned earlier, are higher poverty areas, and those numbers are even more startling. So we're proud, alongside Kids Hope Alliance, Duval County Public Schools, and others, to be driving a collective community effort to help address literacy, and that's called the Read Jacks campaign. You can look forward to more coming up in the near future about that priority as we move forward. Kevin sort of previewed the second and last one that I wanted to mention to you as far as us convening partners to drive improvement, and that is around building the diverse teacher pipeline we need for Jacksonville's future. As the demographics of our community shift and our student population is incredibly diverse, we know, including based on the data that Kevin shared earlier, that it's important that our diverse students have diverse teachers. It's also really important, not just for students who look like those teachers, but also for every child, because of the need for young people to be in a learning environment that's really representative of our community holistically. So we're really proud at JPEF. We're not a recruitment organization, but we are an organization that can bring people together to look at the same data, to set shared goals, and for us to measure our progress together against those goals. And so that's really what we're enabling these partners to do together by helping to convene them through that 1,000 by 2025 initiative. We're really proud at DCPS, UNF, Teach for America, City Year, anyone who's really invested in teacher pipeline development, that they have sort of locked arms with us as a part of that shared priority. So I want to stop there. I want to make sure we leave time for questions, but let Kevin share with you one idea we're working on.
Many of you, maybe some of you still have this personal experience, when you talk to teachers, what causes them to leave the profession or choose not to come into the profession? And let's be blunt, finances comes into it in many ways. We as JPEF and you as voters were very instrumental in passing a referendum which allows us to have more resources for payment, which as conservative as we are in this county, and we are, it's always encouraging to me how much this county and the city will get behind good ideas, which included helping to raise the pay for our teachers so that they will stay. There is an element of that many people face, and as I said, maybe some of you still are, which is student loans. The student loans are huge for anybody who has them, huge if you're otherwise working in a profession that is public service oriented and maybe not earning as much as you otherwise could. So one of the programs that we're working on is a way both for a recruitment and a retention to raise private dollars to help provide
people who decide to come to and stay within the teaching profession to begin whittling down, if not eliminating, their student loans. And one of the things, and this is just raising a bunch of money and administering it smartly as either a subsidy or direct forgiveness of those student loans, provided that certain benchmarks are being met and that professional development is occurring while they're going on. The thing that's exciting about it is, as I wish we did not originate this idea. It was brought to us. And as that idea was brought to us, including some promise of potential funding, and we go out and talk about it, how exciting people get to it. It would be a very powerful thing if we were able to say to a prospective or current teacher, if you continue to teach, we can whittle down your student loan so much each month, so that they're being able to make a professional decision about staying in the profession more so than a financial decision. That's only one piece of it. It's not going to change the world. But if you've ever had a student loan, while they've been paused in the last couple of years, the pause ends in September. And so all of the back student loans, which have been in pause since COVID, are now coming due. And so our goal is to try to launch this program, hopefully by September. With that being said, because Joe was going to throw something at us, if we don't leave time for questions, what can we answer for you?
I will come around with the microphone. So anybody has a question, please raise your hand.
So money is a part of it, but from talking to teachers, the curriculum set up by the Duval County School Board is a problem, and also the discipline in the schools. Do you address those two factors at all?
I would agree with you. I mean, but both of those things, from a policy standpoint, the legislature has been addressing curriculum. Rachel mentioned the school board races that are going to be coming up next year. The school board obviously deals with those issues. From a discipline standpoint, I can't address that necessarily, other than say I know it's be an issue.
Yeah. I'll say too, just the curriculum piece first, that oftentimes when there are concerns related to curriculum, sometimes it's more so curriculum adoption and support. Like a lot of times things change and we're not necessarily, as I mentioned earlier, including educators in that process or providing the requisite support to sort of help make them successful as they implement different things. And so, I think it's really important as changes are made that support be provided to educators to make sure they can effectively implement using the tools that they're given. Another thing that sometimes comes up with curriculum is, and I'll say I've certainly experienced this as an educator myself. Educators have, many of them, quite amount of expertise. And so really balancing the tools with, their ability to sort of utilize their expertise to really sort of guide students to the outcomes that they're seeking. On the discipline piece, I will say that definitely has been coming through loud and clear, particularly with students coming back to school post-COVID. We're struggling right now with a mental health crisis as a nation, as a community. And I think some of the challenges that we're seeing in school right now as it relates to discipline really are largely driven by, whatever manifestation that may be. Kids coming to school with the proverbial, traumas that are in their backpack, and that really manifesting itself in that way. So there's a real need to make sure that we're, providing adequate mental health resources and supports. I'll give you another sort of preview of what's to come for us. We're grateful to actually, through our statewide consortium, have received a planning grant that is allowing us to really have conversations with partners who are involved in that space of providing mental health resources and supports to students, and sort of planning for this upcoming year. There's some ESSER funds that were provided by Florida Department of Education to our consortium to then be granted to LEFs like us. And so we're developing a plan now for how we would leverage that investment to support what is being referred to right now as student resiliency efforts. So helping our students really bounce back from some of the struggles they've been experiencing over the last several years.
Got another question back here.
Yes, with the new funding model of allowing students to move to whatever school they want to go to, I'm under the impression that this is going to negatively impact especially underserved schools today. So what are your plans to try to deal with these schools that are already underfunded that are maybe more severely underfunded in the future?
Rachel was telling me on the way over, I think we're going to see a gradual implementation of this, meaning that what you say, you think about 1% of students that will make a change in their school choice. Now, that doesn't mean leaving what we would say traditional public school and going to charter something, whatever school they were in this year. But I do predict it's going to occur over time. I heard a really interesting presentation at the Jacksonville Civic Council, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and from the facilities person at DCPS, whose name I'm forgetting, they're already planning for that, just from a facility standpoint, because they see not only the demographic shifts in our community, but this is going to happen. So I think it's not to avoid your question. I think we're going to see it develop over time as parents make those choices. And tough decisions are going to have to be made. You can't afford to put facilities in places that are not serving the students if the students are choosing to go elsewhere. So there's going to be real challenges there. It's just, this model is so new. You can't look to say, well, it was done over here, and therefore this is what we can expect to happen.
Yeah, and that 1% data sort of prediction actually comes from some of our statewide partners. Again, what they're really predicting right now, the sort of the first adopters of the policy are going to be, those who are already exercising a certain level of choice. So those students who are already attending private school, now whether they had public dollars to support that in the past, they haven't, but now their parents will be able to leverage it to help fund their child's education. And the other group that folks are expecting to sort of be the initial adopters are homeschool. So I think for me, as I think about what the gradual uptick of this is going to be, a lot of people, frankly, don't know as much. Like your average parent, they don't even really fully understand what this policy is. And I think the more people become informed about it, we'll have to sort of see what that looks like over time. And I'll just say too, having been on the heels of a couple of just national conversations, Kevin and I were talking on the way here too, about changes like, the AI revolution, if you want to call it that. I think we're living right now through a time of such incredible change that it is, we're kind of in it and in this position of being able to hopefully influence as best we can. And again, with that sort of lens of ensuring equitable outcomes for our students, what things are going to look like 10 to 20 years from now. And so, my encouragement to people who care so much about like all of these different things is like to really get in the game, get in these conversations, and let's be influential instead of, any of us sort of taking the position of sort of being, bystanders watching the change occur.
But it's going to happen. There's no, I gave Rachel the example. When I was the interim president at FSCJ, we had 56% of all credit hours were delivered online. My understanding it's close to 80% now. So when I drive by the Kent campuses we did coming down Roosevelt Boulevard, there's hardly a car there. And so, and yet we have 7 campuses in that system itself. It's a very fair question. I know we were looking at it 4 or 5 years ago, and I was there about, do we need to start selling off some space, because people are choosing, at least at that level, to receive education in a very different way.
Appreciate you both coming. To Joe's point, there's a lot of talk out there. I just want to get your opinion on a lot of the charter schools, the teacher certifications, that lack of taxpayer accountability through the school system. So do you guys have any thoughts for every KIP and River City Science Academy? Unfortunately, a lot of charter schools aren't up to snuff. So do you guys have an opinion or theory on that?
I'll say, one of the things that is from just the perspective of accountability and how the statewide accountability model works. Traditional schools, in terms of having to take the same standardized assessments, they actually, are neck and neck as far as what the expectations are. I will say that probably a challenge that is very top of mind for a lot of people right now is certainly with public dollars going out of private schools, that same level of accountability is not there 100%. And so, I think there's a real, conversation for those who, believe in accountability to be had as it relates to like what it looks like to really level the playing field, particularly on that private side. Charter school expansion is here, it's present, it's sort of codified in policy as well. So I think we can expect more of that. I think that what we need to be doing as the change occurs is sort of looking at things. We always have been of the opinion at JPEF that it's not, the conversation shouldn't be necessarily about provider type, but about like what results are being made and what progress is being made for students. And I think unfortunately, a lot of the conversations often come from a place of, just misinformation as far as like, how well schools are doing. Definitely, I think our traditional public schools often suffer the most because of that. I think there's a huge perception gap. When I moved back to Jacksonville, for example, from DC, my realtor was like, "Oh, you want to live on the outskirts?" I was like, "No, I'm going to work in public education. I need to live in Duval County," But I think, again, just the fact that that prevailing narrative is there, and there's just a huge need and opportunity for real data, facts, easily accessible information for anyone, and particularly as choice opens up even more to navigate successfully all those options.
And one thing, this is the free market now speaking. People are now going to have a resource they can vote with their feet and their funds. If they're not receiving the education at a particular charter school or private school or public school, they're going to be able to say, "I'll pick up my money and take it elsewhere." So, I hope that naturally raises the level of whether competition, accountability, whatever you call it, to people say, I need to up our game a little bit. I think we have time for one more before Joe truly throws something else.
Thank you, and I applaud what you're doing and what I've heard so far. It's very interesting about how we kind of have now portable dollars, so to speak. But I've heard you talk several things about the 47% literacy, and in some areas, maybe 33%, and kind of uplifting that, underserved group or underperforming. Let me ask you a question. What do you do, if anything, to help elevate the upper achievers, the people, the high achievers? Do you put any time and effort into those successful people?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it all directed down toward?
No, it's a holistic approach. Everyone can be effective. So for instance, a lot of the research which JPEF does, as well as the grants that it obtains, anywhere from the Gates Foundation to, I forget the name of the Walmart Foundation, but I mean, very significant funders. There's a concentration on what we need to do to elevate all students. JPEF's history comes from a foundation of saying we're going to try to close that achievement gap. For instance, our graduation rate is what now? Close to 90? Now, I remember distinctly when Michael and I were in office, it was 56%. There was a very concerted effort. We're going to try to raise that. So it is not exclusive to say it's only to one population, because what is good for all is for all populations. But we do have a concentrated efforts in certain areas. There's no doubt.
And also to that point about just the historic partnership there around graduation, like Everett Downs was an incredible partner in those efforts. And around the issue of literacy, we really framed, some of the ways we talk about it is our community needs skilled readers. Like we need to make sure that young people, all of them, are prepared to be successful contributors to our community.
Great. Thank you for your time very much.
Thank you so much, both of you, Rachel and Kevin. Thanks for the program, and thanks for what you're doing for education in our community through JPEF. And Kevin, thanks for your continued service to the community. Thank you. I also want to thank Ed Pratt Daniels, because when Joe and Larry and I went to the Eddie Awards, we had the honor of representing our club at the Eddie Awards this year, and I'd never heard of JPEF, or the Eddie Awards. And I was so incredibly impressed and blown away by what was done there that evening and what it meant to that whole community of it in education. And so the next week I looked at Ed Pratt Daniels and said, you know, it really would be nice if we had a program on this. And just like every other time I've looked at him and said, it really would be nice if we had a program on this, he delivered. So thank you, Ed. I really appreciate all that you do for our club. And Carter, I'm going to miss the history moments. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for embracing that concept also. So to everyone here today, Brian and Kevin, Rachel, y'all are welcome here anytime. We hope to see you again often. So please join us anytime you can. Reminders, President's Night next week, 6 o'clock, right here at Timaquana. Please be here. We'd love to have you with us. And I think no lunch meeting that day, don't forget. And I know the younger people think I say that too much, but the older amongst us, I'm not saying which group I'm in, has to hear it more than once. So with that, I'm going to ask Palmer Bell to lead the four-way test. Palmer?
The truth. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
So seeing as how this is my last lunch meeting as your president, I'm going to give you two. Did somebody start clapping at that? Michael Jr. I'm going to give you two quotes, both related to our subject today. First, education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. That's by Confucius. Doesn't that fit in with what we do in Rotary? And second, education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it. Marianne Wright Edelman. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Can't wait to see you next week. Take care.